Okay, welcome all to our first Fridays at 5 of our new year, 2022. And this conversation is about becoming an instructional designer. But before we dive into this topic, we're gonna let you know what's happening in our SIG for the next few months. Let's remember that the new members meetups are in January 10th and the 14th. We have STC's webinars on January 12th, January 19th, and January 26th. Also, the leadership team meeting is on January 26th, and we have the knowledge exchange that it's free for everyone. And they will be talking about certificates, certifications, and academic degrees. And it's on January 31st. Our next Friday at 5, first Fridays at 5, will be February 4th, and the topic is freeform project management for technical communicators. So be sure to don't miss that one. Also, we have the STC's Instructional Design course that will start in March 8th and is designed for technical, instructional design for technical communicators. So don't miss out on that one too. Well, now let's start with our presentation here. Let's start by defining what is instructional design. So for me, instructional design is the art of designing learning experiences and curriculum material by determining the learner's needs and implementing them while iterating in its effectiveness. An instructional designer can work in an academic setting, developing courses, or with companies developing training material. As we will see, instructional design has many hats and can work in a variety of places. As Chris Pappas says, an instructional design aims to compress the learning process and fill the gaps in our knowledge in the most effective way. So instructional design is not just about making curriculum and presenting them to our students, but to making sure that that knowledge is understood. So the field is recently, it's young. It started in 1940 during World War II, when psychologists and educators joined forces to create training material for soldiers. That was the first time that the term instructional design came into play. And then in the 1950s, B.F. Skinner introduced what is known as operant conditioning, which is instructions through small steps and instant feedback. And in 1956, Benjamin Bloom pioneered the taxonomy of educational objectives, where he identified the domains of learning now known as Bloom taxonomy. Then in the 1960s, Robert Gagne introduced the conditions of learning, where he classified 3 domains of learning: 5 learning outcomes and the 9 events of instructions in research, all of which are at the center of today's instructional design practices. Then in the 1970s is when media started to make its way into instruction and the development of the system for information processing. In the 1980s, there were 3 major event that took place. We have David Merrill, who developed that component display theory, also known as CDT. Also, the introduction of the first computer instructional system, which is called Plato, program logic for automation operation, and the principles of cognitive psychology. In the 1990s, with a significant development in the field with the search of the constructivist theory, performance and prototyping, which is rapid development of instructional materials with even quicker iterations, became trends. And also the introduction of computer-based training, which is called CBT, for interactive training. In the 2000s, we started seeing what we now known as e-learning, and it was especially for the private sector, mainly for onboarding practices within the industries. And we also had the introduction of learning management system, LMSs, which became a one-stop tool for all instructional design needs. Now, from the 2010s and beyond until now, we had the widespread of technology, online and hybrid learning, and they had become the mainstream in education and corporate. The learner experience becomes the central focus of the field, with personalized instruction, and also the use of data and analytics to target instruction and outcomes. So why become an instructional designer? I will give you 4 main reasons. If you have the passion for making a difference in someone's life, advocating for learners, love interactive roles and collaboration, and you are a learner yourself, well, then this field is right for you, because you will put your expertise and skills to work. Instructional design is a field that is in constant change, and the ID professionals will need to evolve with it. Now, let me give you some facts about the instructional design field. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, instructional design is one of the fastest growing professions, with a projected 10% growth between 2020 and 2030, where the average is only 8%. Then we have the instructional designers rate high job satisfaction with their work-life balance. According to the 2021 Instructional Design survey by Edel Pace, there's a 61% responded that they are very satisfied with their work-life balance, and only 6% were not. Also, the average salary for an instructional designer is above the average, which is $64,000 a year, according to pay scale. However, it is far less what it was reported on PEC's survey, which was $85,000 a year. So it is, although pay scale was done last year also, but so there's a big difference in here of $20,000, which can make a incentive for joining the field. Also, Instructional design presents various jobs opportunities or a specialized niche. For example, learning design and strategy, content writing, instructional technology, e-learning developer, multimedia specialist, graphic and user designer, instructor training, and project management. Also, instructional designers work across industries like corporate, government, nonprofit, higher education, and K-12. So as you can see, the field is not, it's wide and it has a room to grow. That's why we have seen a lot of trends of people transitioning from K-12 to instructional design now. So what do instructional designers do? Well, as I said before, they need to master many skills because they have to understand their audience and create engaging learning experiences, to develop instruction roadmaps, and also evaluate results. However, it seems like it's a big undertaking for one instructional design. But as I said before, this is a collaborative field where you don't have to do it alone. This is a group of people working together. Instructional designers also devise courses and supporting materials to stay on top of current trends in technology and education. Instructional designers, as I said before, also they work for the corporate world and government, academic institution, and they can be self-employed. They can be freelancers, consultants, or private vendors. This is a big debate. Do you need a college degree to become an instructional design? Well, it depends on your individual circumstances and your background. And as we will see later on, it will depend on what niche in instructional design you are focusing in. So that need of a college degree will be good if you're, for example, if you want to work for the government, they have certain standards that you have to fulfill, and most likely they will ask for a college degree and master's or doctorate level. So you will have to have that. However, if you go to the corporate, you can have, in lieu of a college degree, you can have experience, and you can present what projects you have done, and that will back your expertise. So it will depend on your needs and on what specialization in instructional design you're going after. Things you need to know to become an instructional designer. Okay, so this seems like just small things to learn, but under each bullet, there's a lot of things that go into play. For example, the instructional design theories, the technical skills you have to, with technology, you have to know about design, and you have to have a portfolio or experience to prove your knowledge. So what is the instructional design theory? There are multiple theories, principles, frameworks that an instructional designer needs to know or should know. So ADDIE is the first one, and it stands for analysis, design, development, and implementation and evaluation. Also, we have the Merrill principles of instruction, that it has 4 stages: demonstration, activation, application, and integration. And some may add a 5th stage that could be engage. Bloom's taxonomy, it has 6 main categories, which are knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And yes, 9 events of instruction, has 9 conditions for learning, which are gain attention, inform objectives, stimulate prior information, present content, provide guidance, performance, which is the application of the knowledge learned, then feedback, assessment, and transfer of information. Action mapping, this one is intended to use in the business world and has 4 steps, which are identify business goals, identify what people needs to know, design practice activities, and identify what people need to know. Also, we have the ARCS model for motivation, which was developed by John Keller and has 4 components, and is attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. Behaviorism, it guides learners to reach pre-established learning outcomes. And one prevalent concept is the operant conditioning developed by B.F. Skinner, which we talked about before. Also, we have the cognitive information processing. It is a psychological approach to information processing, and it focuses on how people attend, encode, store, and receive information. We have the Kirkpatrick's model of evaluation, which outlines the levels at which an ID should evaluate outcomes, which are reaction, learning, behavior, and results. Then we have the Major's principles of multimedia learning, and he has 12 guidelines for developing multimedia learning experiences. And there are coherence principles, the signaling principle, redundancy, spatial continuity, temporal contiguity, segmenting, pre-training, modality, multimedia, and personalization principle, voice and image principle. We also have the SAM, which is successive approximation model, and it was developed by Michael Allen, and it's a simplified version of the ADDIE model and has 3 phases, which are preparation, iterative design, and iterative development. And then we have ACU, and it is attributed to Conrad Gottfredson for introducing the ACU into the field of instructional design, and has 5 moments, which are align, get set, iterate, and implement, leverage, and evaluate. I know that it's a lot, and I'm not going into each one of them because it is a lot to talk for 1 hour. But these are the main theories and frameworks that an instructional designer needs to know, although if they don't have to practice them all, but at least have a basic knowledge of what they are. Then we have the technical skills. An instructional designer needs to keep up with the technological changes and advances in essential which are essential for and it will depend on the niche that the instructional designer plans to work. So and that's how they will not need to learn all of these tools, but at least 1 or 2 or more if they can, to use in their daily activities. For example, the authoring tools are softwares that help instructional designers to create interactive content. We have, for example, in here, Articulate Storyline, Articulate Rise 360, and Adobe Captivate. We'll also have the web programming languages, which are HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript. We also have the learning management systems, which are software platforms used to deliver track and evaluate e-learning courses. And some of the well-known ones are Adobe Captivate Prime, Talent LMS, Docebo, Articulate 360, Moodle, Canvas, EduMe, among others. Also, an instructional designer should know about the two primary standards to deploy VLMS, which are the SCORM, which stands for Shareable Content Object Reference Model, and the XIP, which is the Experience Application Programming Interface. And it's also known as the TINCAN API. In multimedia, well, like I said before, an instructional designer has to know about not just education, but also in technology, and knowing how to produce videos and illustrations is essential too, especially if you are into gaming learning and more interactive types of courses. So you will have to learn something like TechSmith, Camtasia, TechSmith, Snagit, Adobe XD, Adobe Illustrator, and well, most Adobe Creative Cloud, because you will need Photoshop or Premiere to do videos. An instructional designer needs to know about design and its application in an educational setting. So having an understanding of visual design will help instructional designers present content efficiently. There are 7 principles of design, and those are emphasis, balance, alignment, contrast, repetition, proportion, movement, and white space. You may say, but why do they have to know about design? Well, if I would be presenting you this presentation full of words and illustration on top of one another, you probably will not concentrate on the presentation, but trying to figure out what you're seeing on your screen. And having just bullet point what it's more important to say or for you to focus on, that is design. So that's why you have to know learn about design and know how to apply it in a learning content. Now let's talk about portfolio and experience. So you cannot have experience. In lieu of experience, you will have to develop a portfolio, and especially beginners or transitioning individuals, they should create a portfolio to showcase their abilities and understanding of the field. And what should you include in this portfolio? Well, information about you and your background, a resume, and projects that you have been working on. These could be just mock projects that you want to present, especially to reflect on the niche of your interest. And you have to explain your process on how you develop this project and why you make the decisions you made to develop this project. That will show your future employer that why your understanding of the theories that we talked about before. Also, if you have no experience and you want to gain some, you will need like, here are some examples of places that you could use to gain that experience. For example, joining associations like STC, ATD, e-learning guild. You can participate in seminars and webinars, attend conferences and events, use social media. You can use LinkedIn to connect with other instructional designers, and use Twitter to promote your work. Also, you can join online communities like STC, Devlin Peck, who has a great instructional design community, Tim Slade, Karen North, and there's others. Also, you can do volunteer work, like here in our SIG, and you can find other associations and institutions that you can volunteer your work. And if you're a student, you can even volunteer in your university to start dipping your toes in instructional design. And well, that is it for how you could become a instructional design, and what would you need, the roadmap for you to gain experience and transition into the instructional design field, and know how to what you need to learn to show that you are aware of the trends and to show your abilities in the field. Thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions?
I do have a comment.
Yeah.
In the course of doing research for our student outreach, I was on a lot of university websites, and I believe due to COVID restrictions, there are universities with ID departments for their faculties. And I didn't recall seeing a lot of that. And a lot of them were very new. And that's a whole other opportunity I wouldn't have thought of.
Yes. There's with COVID, it showed the need that of e-learning, or to develop more material in that aspect. I remember when it started, I was in my community college, and that infrastructure, they didn't have the infrastructure to transition all the student body into e-learning. So a lot of students had struggled with e-learning, and even teachers, the professors, had to adapt their in-person classes to what it will be an e-learn environment. And it was a nightmare. I believe now they have more a hang of it, but yes, it shows a deficiency there. You're correct.
Del, I just wanted to break in and say thank you. You did a marvelous job. That was a lot of information in a short period of time, and you really got it all. You really covered a lot of it. You did great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
This is where we applaud, right?
Yes.
Yes, it was a lot of material, and I was trying to.
Or it is. And you'll share your slides with us, right? Everybody will get a copy of this.
Yes.
Perfect. Because they were really meaty. There was a lot on each one. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad we're recording, because I'll never remember all this. It's so great. I have a question for the practitioners. I was in a discussion with a couple of other instructional designers, and we were trying to talk about organizations that have their instructional design separated from their tech comm. And some organizations have their instructional design embedded in their tech comm. So like you might be in a department where there's a technical writer that also does instructional design. And I was going to ask you guys, if any of the practitioners out there, is your instructional design sort of siloed, separate from the rest of your technical communication? How is your organization structured? Jump in.
Well, my most recent experience has been instructional design was the territory of the training department.
Right.
Now, this was several thousand employees, so they really siloed all sorts of activities.
Yeah. And separate from the technical communication, right?
Oh, technical communications was not a single entity. It was definitely department driven. You could have one if you wanted. If not, you just take your best people and make them do it. So it's very rough.
I'm not a practitioner, but while doing this, researching for this presentation, I noticed that several, because I went to LinkedIn and see job descriptions, and some of them have them in human resources, or other are under that technical, but not technical writing, but in, for example, engineering department, or depending on the needs of the company, but it is allocated in different areas. There's not one specific, like a department for instructional design.
That's a good resource. That was really good thinking, Edel.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a question in the chat just for, I keep forgetting that we have a lot of people that have been doing these first Fridays with us for a long time. And we have a lot of people who are new today, or maybe haven't done a first Friday in a while. So usually what happens is we do the recording, and you know that you signed up on Eventbrite, and that's how you got the link to this Zoom. And Eventbrite's got a tool that will let us send you an email after the event. And in the email, you will get tons of things. You'll get ways to contact Edel. You'll get ways to contact IDL. You'll get a link to the recording of the webinar. You'll get a link to the slides. You'll get other links just because we want to keep in touch with you. You know, a link to our channel in Eventbrite so that you can sign up for the February one. You'll get links to the STC things that Edel talked about at the beginning. So just want to let everybody know this is not a one and done. We will keep in touch with you. And now that we know who you are, you'll be invited to our future events. You can unsubscribe from that if you want to, but we hope that you'll keep coming back. So thanks for letting me interrupt about that.
I did have a question. I don't know if anybody can answer this at this point. That was a lot of material to digest. And I guess my question is, where do I start? I have a diploma in multimedia development. I also have a diploma in digital graphic design. I taught at the college level, prepared training materials, have done numerous multimedia projects, but that was 20 years ago. Over the last 20 years, I've been working at the enterprise level for web development. And I'd really like to get back into the sort of multimedia instructional design e-learning kind of stream. So with all the content you just threw at me, where do I go?
I have a document where I have links, for example, for all the theories um and for the technical authoring tools and all those. I have the link for those. So if you, I will pass it on so you can receive it in the email, and you can check that out. But hopefully someone else can guide you in how to get started in the transition.
I'd love to jump in and say my thoughts to Thomas. When you say get started, you mean get started by get a job, yes?
That's basically it. Yeah. I was laid off a couple of years ago, and I made the decision to move away. Yeah, after going through several cuts in the company. I survived 4. I didn't survive the 5th. But yeah, I'm looking to move away from what I was doing, which is programming for the web, and sort of move more back into multimedia learning, e-learning. That's
right.
I am, as Edel pointed out, sort of here are the things that will benefit you if you want to go into instructional design, and I am a continuous learner.
Right. So what you need to do, regardless of the age of your samples, is get together a portfolio that shows what you can do and what you have done, because most job offerers want to be reassured that you can do the work, right? So there's also a really great recording that you can access on Jack Malasani's website. Someone else will jump in with his name. Is he I'd Rather Be Writing? No. At any rate, Jack Malasani is oh God, my brain. I haven't talked to anybody for a couple of days. It's really obvious. I can't think of any words. He helps people get work. He's a headhunter, recruiter. There you go. And he did a session recently for STC Chicago chapter on avoiding the dreaded applicant tracking system. And that can get you. Were you there? Did you attend that?
I was in that. I think I was actually in that session.
Yeah. Then definitely go back and review your notes from that or the recording, because I would think almost word for word, every word was fabulous. I mean, it was right on the money, because he's got lots of job experience and direct day-to-day experience. So what he's saying is true, and I would follow that. But most people these days, especially in anything that is multimedia, they are expecting to see a portfolio.
Right.
And so if you need to create something new, volunteer, and you can, volunteering with STC is one thing, but I mean, look at your local animal shelter or church group or something. Everybody needs training on something. And you can create things for free, and no one knows on your portfolio whether or not you were paid for doing it. They don't care, right? But get something relevant and new into your portfolio, and also networking.
Yeah,
because
that's a hard one for me. That's a hard one for me. I'm not really a networking person. I do get along well with people, and I can, certainly synthesize different points of view, but
you just need to put yourself in the position of stick up your hand and say, I will. I'll do that.
Dating.
So just
it's
kind
like
of
online dating. Oh my God.
I know, I'm sorry, but if you stick yourself in the middle, it's really hard to fall off the edges.
Yes. So I actually have something to share. So I actually got I have my current job full time, which I didn't know that I was looking for. I was actually intending on going freelance. I actually got it from one of these or it wasn't on the first Friday. It was one of the webinars that you guys ran, and I just reached out to the presenter afterwards, and then she connected me with someone else, who then connected me with someone else, and then
Oh, that's cool.
I went. So it's just, yeah, like it was kind of just one of those things where I literally showed up to one of these things and then sent an email, and now I have a job.
So that's
Fabulous,
cool.
Sasha. I
So
didn't
like
know
that's
that.
so like it's just like
That's
I feel like when people think of like networking, it's like you're thinking of something like way, it sounds intimidating, but like this is networking.
This is networking, and getting a volunteer job in a chapter, or like a local chapter if you have one nearby, or in a virtual community like the IDL or the technical editing, or there probably, if there isn't one for multimedia e-learning, start one. Like find out who else in STC is interested in it, and just get together and say, can we have a coffee?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Virtually online, or if there's someone in your area. But that is, as Sasha said, that's the way you get started.
And I just
It
want to
does
point
take.
out our resident genius here, Anita. She put a link to Pro Staffing, which is Jack's company, in the chat. Also, Jack is very accessible. Anytime, I've always thought, oh, he's not going to know me, he's not going to treat me seriously, and he is absolutely the best. He has a heart for this kind of thing, so don't be shy about reaching out. And Sasha, that your story made me do the happy dance. I'm just sitting here on my couch watching the webinar, and I'm so happy. We may have to make you do a First Friday or something like that. My story about how I networked my way into a job. Anyway,
It was very unexpected.
Oh,
It's great.
That's actually perfect. I'm supposed to be doing well, possibly an article or a webinar on transitioning. So if anybody has transitioned from another area, please let me know.
Post your email address, Thomas,
Okay.
so people can let you know if they have a good story to share.
Also, you can update your LinkedIn and start connecting with other IDs and transitioning IDs. And it's a very helpful community in LinkedIn. So, and they share what it's working for them, what it's not, and about jobs. So you can get in there, and you don't have to be pushy, or it's just a simple like on what they share, or just say hi to them, and they will help you out.
I think Patricia is trying to say something too, to add.
Thank you. I didn't want to interrupt. Thomas, right?
Yeah.
You could also do a website on Wix, wix.com, and then you can post some of your samples out there too. And that's a great way to share. When you network, you can give someone that link and they can see all of the work that you've done and what your history is.
Great idea.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my samples are, some of the samples I had are really old, and I think possibly still relevant, but I don't really have a sample of some of the stuff I've done. For example, ADT 20 years ago, they did a new graphics card, and I worked for a multimedia company that did a promo marketing piece associated with that, with animation. And I didn't do the animation, I did some of the programming and stuff, but I mean, that's something I don't have access to, for example, but that was a very cool project to work on.
Yeah, we use Beyond a lot here where I work, and there's a 30-day free trial. So you can download or get access to the 30-day free trial. It's pretty simple to use, especially with someone who has your background. And
what was the program name, Patricia?
It's Beyond, VYOND. It's an animation, animation software. Get a 30-day trial on that. And with your background, you could probably create a couple of quick videos. And if you're interested, I'll send you a couple links to the ones I have too.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. I'd appreciate that.
In fact, Patricia, I think all of us would like that. Do you mind emailing, what is it?
Here, I'm going to put it in the
programs at idlsig.org. stcidlsig.org.
That's
And
it. Thank you, Melissa.
yeah, and because I think all of us on every face that I see here on Zoom, their eyes lit up, and so I think we can see that. Yeah.
Let me see if I
Well,
can
if
send
you
a
know
link.
that program, Patricia, maybe you could show us in
Sure.
one of the
Webinar.
sessions.
We need
In one of
somebody.
these
Do a quick
sessions, nothing,
webinar.
yeah, no big pressure, but in one of these chatty kind of sessions where we get together and talk.
Sure.
That'd be
Yeah, I can do that.
fun. Yeah, or if anybody else knows any particular program that you think would help an instructional designer, we would just love to host you. And
Yeah.
as Anita put in the chat, if you want to volunteer, and volunteering doesn't need to be that you're going to volunteer to be the chair of X for the next 10 years of your life. Volunteering can mean you have an hour or 2 hours and you can help with Y, So don't get intimidated by us saying volunteer. Also, if you're a member of STC and you have access to the Slack method of communication, there's a volunteers channel there in STC's workspace, and you can check it out. And, there's lots of interesting little jobs that can be done. And then you get to know us. And that also is the definition of networking, just getting to know the people that you're volunteering with.
It's like a 4-letter word for me.
Work.
Network.
Thomas, think of networking like this. You know something that somebody else needs to know, and somebody else knows something that you need to know. And if you just keep making little connections like today, it's going to enrich your life and you're going to enrich someone else's.
Well, that's a good way of looking at it. Thank you.
It's the most encouragement I could think of. It's worked for me.
I find volunteering is very much the same as well. You start out a little bit and you get involved more and more. Like just being doing this presentation, that's volunteering. If you have 1 hour and you would like to do a presentation, let me know. We'd be happy to have you.
And it doesn't have to be ID related. We're kind of wide ranging in our focus, but I don't know if you can call that a focus because we're not focused at all.
We're very unfocused in our focus. Yeah.
At times.
Well, the field is very wide. And so our areas of interest are very wide. And so our presentation's very wide. The field that we try to plow for things that members would value is also very wide. So if you've got a superpower, we got a place for you to showcase it. That's for sure.
I just put a link in your chat, and it's a link to a course I did in Articulate Rise, but it has a Beyond video embedded in it. So just a sample that you can take a look at some of the things.
Yeah, and I will put the entire chat in the email that you guys get. So you don't have to frantically take notes. You can take notes if it helps you remember, but don't take notes just because you think you might lose the information. You'll get the chat and all the great things.
Yay.
Cool. Well, again, Edel, I think you did a great job.
More
I
applause.
hope you do. I hope you do more.
Yes. Very
I
good.
hope you do more for us and feel comfortable. I felt for you during the presentation because I sort of felt that you were kind of nervous and I was trying to breathe for you.
Yes.
I kept taking deep breaths, hoping it would help you.
Mostly it's because my tongue doesn't help me much in the pronunciation, but yes.
You did well.
Yeah, you did really well. And you have my admiration because I don't think if I was, trying to do this in Spanish, I don't think I'd do half as well, especially since I've never taken a Spanish lesson in my life. But in any other second language, I mean, you got my vote for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions about ID while we're here?
I just wanted to thank you for her presentation. I've been told I'm an accidental technical communicator, I would call it, because I definitely didn't go into it. But I'm finding more and more of what I do is definitely technical communication, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly what form of it is. And this has definitely been helpful. I feel like I'm instructional design. I've done a lot of UX UI, and I think I even do procedural all in the same. And it's not my role, but it's what I do. So it's like all combined, and this is definitely very helpful. So thank you.
Good. Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah, and you guys
Anita,
don't fall in love with your processes, and don't fall in love with your tools, because they're going to change all the time. And what your focus is going to constantly evolve as you evolve, and also as the industry evolves, or the industry that you're in. So as long as you're curious and you can learn and you're adaptable, you're going to be a superhero. And then one day you'll be doing a webinar. I'm out here begging for them. So
mute myself. Also, if anybody here knows of someone that they would like to learn from, if you've read a book or been at another webinar and you'd love to hear more from that person, just let Vicky or even myself or Anita know, because we're absolutely shameless about tracking people down and saying, would you give us a webinar? So,
and it's not very
use
hard.
us. You don't.
Right. If people have written books, or if they're recognized as an expert, they are usually very generous. And, because our organization is recognized, right? It's an international organization, STC is. And so they want to network with us as much as we want to network with them. So don't be shy about that kind of stuff too.
And we'll do all the dirty work for you.
We have a lot of formats. We have this first Friday, which is kind of a shortish presentation, and then lots of discussion like we're doing now. We've also done workshops where you can, which is what I was thinking of for you, Patricia, if you wanted to show us a little bit and then demonstrate and then show us a little bit, sort of a behind the scenes kind of a thing, more of a workshop-y. I don't know that we can necessarily do hands-on, but we can watch you do the hands-on, right? We also, so we have the first Friday, and then we have these structured webinars that are basically, mind dump for an hour of really good information, that it's more like a seminar or presentation. And we're open to other kinds of things. We've even had just purely social gatherings where, Thomas, it's not so hard to network, when what did we do last time? A scavenger hunt, I think. And then at the last first Friday, we had planned this one thing. It didn't happen. So basically what we did for the whole hour is everybody talked about their worst thing that they'd ever had happen to them as a technical writer, tech com person, IDL, and so people just told horror stories, and we were just like, oh, I feel your pain. And then the next story, oh, that was terrible. You were such a hero to survive that, So we have lots and lots of formats.
Yeah, San Francisco Bay Area is doing what they call happy hours, virtual happy hours.
Mm-hmm.
Grab your drink and we can chit chat.
Yeah, and there's
Have you attended?
That do a coffee, like a lunchtime coffee and stuff like that. Maybe we should start doing some of those.
Yes.
I have to run as well. Good night, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video.